Anyways, we'll be switching here a little bit. So we have a local fellow. I'll call him a friend. I've known him for a lot of years. Not that we've been great friends, but he got the vaccine shot and got severely injured. So he's going to come up and just tell us what he went through and what all happened. So let's welcome Mr. Murray Helleckson.
Hello, everybody. For starters, I'm not a public speaker by any means. I've been just asked to tell my story and what's happened after I got the vaccine. So it was in middle of April. I decided to get the vaccine. Just for the good of getting the vaccine, I guess. I've been used to having vaccines throughout my whole life to protect my son from like flus and shots and stuff. So it was end of April, and it was 2 weeks later. We were watching TV, and I got a tingling in my fingers, like weird, in both hands, and had a shower later that night. And I ended up with the bottom of my feet feeling a numbness, a weird, like if you've ever been walking in mud. It felt like mud was stuck to the bottom of my foot. So tried not to think much about it. The next morning, it had progressed. More of my fingers and my thumb were numb, tingling, a weird numbness that started, and an absolute numbness that started on the very tips, as well as on the bottom of my feet and my toes. From there, it only took 2 days, and it progressed up into my foot, to my wrist, the numbness, and then the strength loss. My muscles started to, there was no pain yet, but you'd go to do things and you couldn't quite achieve what you could before. This was day 3, and that was the emergency. The first emergency. Went to ER, and they checked me out for like a stroke, blood, diabetes. There was a half a dozen blood tests that were done. Couldn't find the result. Sent me home. The next morning, I woke up with a bum leg. My leg would give out. It wouldn't quite support my weight. So I went to work that night, went back to the ER, and did another battery of tests, blood tests, nerve tests, and again sent home. Okay? And then the next day I went to work, and I was at this time I worked in a mill. I'm an average guy. I grew up here. I'm a local. I was a farmer, logger, mill worker, oil field worker, heavy equipment operator, just an average Joe for some background. So I was working in a mill, and you utilize by changing knife sections in this machine. I couldn't grasp hard enough to lift up the knives anymore, and it was an easy task before. And the more panicked I got, the worse it got, and I was fumbling and dropping, and I went to turn to leave, and I went right down to the ground. No strength in my legs, it wouldn't carry me, so I went straight to the ER. Again, with the ER doctors, I found out after they knew what was wrong at this point. They wanted me to go home again to see how far it would progress. Yeah, this is what I found out after. They wanted me to go home, go on. This was May long now. They wanted me to go camping and see, but I refused. We had a yelling argument in the ER, and I said I'm not leaving. And then it was like verbal abuse back and forth. And finally, they said, well, what do you want us to do? Phone the neurological department? And I'm like, yeah, whatever you got to do. I'm not leaving. So they phoned, and I was in the ER bed for 3-4 hours waiting for them to decide what they were going to do. And at that point, he came back in, and he said that the Edmonton clinic wanted me to get a lumbar puncture. It's pull a spinal cord fluid from in your spinal cord to see if there was a prion or a protein in there, protein. So they found it. And at that point, they knew that it was what they called GBS, or can you pronounce that?
Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Guillain-Barré syndrome. So it's a neurological syndrome. So what has happened is after the vaccine, my own autoimmune, my immunity attacked its own insulation around the nerves. So what was happening is my nerves were not containing its signals to tell my muscles or my hands or anything to move the way I wanted it to. So it started to deteriorate throughout my whole body. It starts at your lower limbs and works up, and starts at the end of your limbs and works in. Starts from the furthest to the closest. So by the time they got me in there, I spent maybe an hour in, and they did a neurological study to test and see how fast my nerves were conducting from when it sent to when it picked up, and they decided, yeah, I had GBS. So I was sent straight to a hospital bed. At this point, I couldn't use my left leg. All I could do is prop against it. My hands were only good if I pushed them together. I couldn't lift them above my chest level. The paralyzed my right side of my chest, and the mobility was almost at that point gone. You know how you do your nerve on your knees, and your knees kick in your elbows? That was all deteriorated and gone 100%. At this point, I could still talk, swallow, breathe. So they sent me into the hospital bed, and what they call it is IVIG. They take platelets of other people's blood and clean the blood. So
All you have left is platelets.
yeah, all that was left was platelets of other people's blood. So they put that in your body to give your immunity something to attack instead of attacking yourself. So to stop the attack of your nerves. So at that point, there was 5 days of that, and during that time, the scariest part was when I went into the hospital bed. The two doctors come in and said, "So you know, this is absolutely serious. It can be fatal. You can be permanently paralyzed. You can be lose your ability to talk, your ability to swallow, your ability to breathe." So you can imagine at this point, then you start phoning your family members and contacting them and saying, "This is where I'm at. This is what we're doing." So it was 5 days of that. And just for information, that 5 days of treatment is over $100,000 just to repair. That was the cost to that clinic. So after about halfway through the IVIG, that's when I started having the sliding of your face, kind of like a stroke, and the side of my throat went numb. I couldn't. When you drink water, you can't tell if you're swallowing, and that's where they worry about your stomach, like you swallowing water into your lungs or not quite swallowing. So they watch you for that. But luckily, the IVIG worked almost immediately on me. It stopped its progression, and by the 5th day, I was already starting to get the movement of my arms back, not my legs, but my arms. I could control it, and I could eat myself, other than the swallowing. And then after that, they sent me home for just recovery. Nothing else can be done for it. It just natural progression of healing. I'm at the 6-month mark, and I still have the numbness in my fingertips. It comes and goes in the bottom of your feet. Heat is a problem. Stress is a problem. But other than that, I'm thankful that I'm healthy and good. But this is one of those things, one of these times in your life that to say that your eyes are closed or you're not really concerned about things, like I was just, I'll get a vaccine like everybody else, go on about my business, work won't bother me, I can travel, all the restaurants, at this time they were already talking about vaccine passports and stuff. But I feel like kind of a hypocrite in that it's like opened up my eyes and made me value more than I did before about the freedoms that we may give up by showing a passport or showing that I got the shot for you or for this or for that, to be able to just live like a normal person. And to say that it really opened up my eyes to these values and freedoms that we have now, they're more to be protected than just going and getting a vaccine because that's what the normal people are doing, what everybody is being told by the mainstream media. And now I'm an advocate for no vaccine passports 100%. If people want to get vaccinated, that's none of my business. If it's good for you, it's good for you. It's a personal choice. But this vaccine passport bullshit is absolutely, to me, it's out of the world. That you'll talk people into going and getting something that they don't want to get in order to live in the freedoms that Remembrance Day just passed. All of us have grandparents or parents that went to war to help us in our freedoms, so we don't have to live like other people did. Thank you. Thank you. And so through all this, I went on the news and over a vaccine injury program. To this point, to this day, and there's no question, one doctor came in and the neurologist straight out asked me, "Did you get the AstraZeneca vaccine 2 weeks ago?" Yep. He knew it before I even said anything. There was already one guy went through there, absolutely the same. There was 4 other doctors that would not utter a word about the vaccine being the cause. They're being forced not to say it. And the one doctor, he came out and he said, yeah, there's definite pressure for us not to say it. But he asked me if I would give him permission to fill out an adverse effect from the vaccine, and he filled it out, and the other doctors wouldn't sign it, but he sent it ahead. So at this point, the federal government has contacted me 3 times about getting the support from the vaccine injury. Yeah, the vaccine injury support program. And to this day, nothing. I'm okay now, and I'm back to work, and I'm good. But you hear on the news repeatedly all the goods and the free money and this and that to get you vaccinated. But if you're injured, the hell with you. Like, too bad. So just so you know, you're not covered. And they don't tell you about what's in the vaccines. Once again, I had my eyes opened up in research of what's actually in these vaccines and what they can do to you and what they will do to you. In Canada, I know of 5 GBS, 3 CIDP. It's another one like GBS. It's a neurological disorder from these vaccines. And these are only people that got a hold of me because when they Google, now my news story comes up. And then numerous others. I had to shut off my messenger because I've been literally getting hundreds of messages from people around Canada that are getting injured from the vaccine and have not reported it. They just wonder, trying to reach out. So I give them the information that I did, not knowing what they do with their information. And as well, we've had other family members, as I'm sure all of you have the stories of people getting vaccinated, and we have some locals here. In weeks after they get vaccinated, they pass away because of other injuries, be it cancer, be it heart problems, be it diabetes. But they won't say it's from the vaccine. They blame it on pre-existings. But I believe, and I don't know if any of you believe, these illnesses are being come on harder and faster than if they were left by themselves. So that's my story, and thank you for giving me a chance to share it. And thank you guys very much. Is there any questions at all?